What's up guys, it's Will back again, and today's review is 500 Days of Summer. 500 Days of Summer is a 2009 romantic comedy film that was directed by Mark Webb and was first requested to me by Jay Gaja on my The Pianist review that I released back on the 10th of November. Well, 500 Days of Summer primarily follows Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character Tom, a trained yet at the same time aspiring architect who works in New York City writing greeting cards instead. Well, Tom eventually meets a woman named Summer, played by Zooey Deschanel, who he falls in love with. This relationship is going swimmingly for quite some time, and then eventually things start to deteriorate after the two lovers begin realizing that they're viewing their relationship in different ways due to their differing opinions on love itself. And the rest of the film is spent watching Tom live through the ups and downs of the first 500 days of his relationship with Summer, while we at the same time watch Tom and Summer grow as individuals because of what they learned from their relationship. Okay, so when Jay Gaja requested this film way back when, I remember thinking to myself, I always wanted to watch 500 Days of Summer, but then I couldn't even remember anything about it except that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in it. So other than that, I went into this viewing experience completely blind, and I was blown away not just by the quality of the film itself, but also the emotional impact that this movie had on me. It got me in the feels, I'll say that much. While 500 Days of Summer is a romantic comedy film, it's not your typical romantic comedy film whatsoever, and not just because it has the occasional narration either. Firstly, the way that it's paced is really unique and cool. The story is told in a somewhat non-linear fashion, which typically I'm not usually a fan of because I like a story that goes from point A to point B to point C in time and gradually escalates until you reach the climax of the story. But 500 Days of Summer manages to do it in a very different yet effective fashion. They'll introduce you to the point in time where the conflict escalates to its tipping point and then go back in time and show you how our characters arrived at that point. I think part of what makes this non-linear approach work in practice is the fact that the filmmakers give you little tastes of important moments to come without providing you the full picture and context. Then when you get the full picture and context combined with all the preceding events, it feels more impactful. It's sort of like a romantic comedy puzzle that slowly pieces itself together as the bigger picture becomes clearer. It's definitely unlike any other romantic comedy I've seen in that regard. I also think that this film is different than most romantic comedies because it's a much more honest and realistic depiction of what life and love are truly like. This relationship isn't always unicorns and rainbows, and I think how these two characters handle this relationship they build with one another in such a crucial time in their lives is captivating in a different kind of way. Because without giving too much away, Tom and Summer view love and life itself very differently, yet they somehow still find a way to make things work despite their differences. This is what a lot of couples have to do even today, because it's pretty rare to find a significant other exactly like you. And even if you somehow did, you're never gonna find someone who always agrees with you. And that's a message that's driven home repeatedly in this film. I love this film for being transparent and not being fluff. It has a lot of great things to say about finding your purpose in the world, understanding who you are and what you believe in, and also the importance of making mistakes along the way because that allows you to grow. You're not going to find such thoughtful commentary on such deep topics in a lesser romantic comedy, I'll tell you that much. While 500 Days of Summer isn't a musical, it reminded me a lot of La La Land, which is a great film to be compared to in my book. They're both about finding your identity, never giving up on your dreams, making mistakes and learning from them, and also the imperfection of love in the real world. Both these films really hit me in the feels because they made me invest heavily in these characters, both individually and as a couple. And 500 Days of Summer, just like La La Land, sports two lead actors who have a ton of chemistry with one another and deliver some truly exceptional performances. There was never any doubt in my mind that Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zooey Deschanel were great actors, but in this movie they really impressed me. They were both fantastic in different ways, but the chemistry between the two and the growth of the characters over the 90-minute runtime was really impressive to watch. They grow up so much by the end of this film that you're going to feel like you went on an emotional roller coaster with these characters. So two technical elements that I really feel like I have to mention are the music and the cinematography. I really was pretty blown away by not only how good the original music was, but also how excellent the soundtrack as a whole was. This is one of those films where the music really adds quite a bit to the overall product. In some movies the music does its part and it does it well, and you don't really think about it, and this isn't one of those movies at all. You'll think about how great the music is and how you want to go listen to the soundtrack on repeat. And the cinematography, 500 Days of Summer really does a great job at highlighting certain details that show a very clear understanding of what this story is and what it's trying to say. The visual experience as a whole is very unique, and I think the cinematography really helps create something that never feels typical. There's a lot of tight shots that are incredibly artistic and emotional, and there's a lot of other really creatively composed shots that do a great job of allowing you to connect with these characters on a level that most films only wish they could achieve. It's great stuff. So there's only one knock on 500 Days of Summer for me, just one. I think this film has a tendency to sometimes overdo it when it comes to the comedy. I think there's a lot of funny, like chuckle funny moments in this film, but there are some other times where the comedy sort of gets in the way of the emotion, sort of like the comedy is a bit forced into the spotlight when it's not its time to shine. Certain scenes get slightly diminished by the forceful presence of comedy, but it's only a slight knock on what otherwise is a funny movie. But overall, I really enjoyed this film, and it's another great request on the books from you guys. I thought it had a beautiful story about love, finding your identity, and the importance of making mistakes, some great acting performances from its two leads, some extremely memorable and impactful music, and fantastic cinematography that really adds so much emotion to the story. My only knock on the film is that it sometimes forces humor into scenes that don't call for it. Regardless, I'm gonna give 500 Days of Summer a 9.5 out of 10, and definitely recommend you check this one out if you haven't already, if you're looking for a fresh and honest take on the romantic comedy formula. So did you guys see 500 Days of Summer yet? What did you think of it? And if not, let me know why not. And also let me know your favorite romantic comedy of all time. 500 Days of Summer is certainly up there for me. Is it for you? Let me know. Also, thanks again to Jay Gaja for the request, whose channel link you could find in the description below. Keep them coming, everyone. That's all for now, though. This is Will Foxification signing off. See you in the next review.